When Carl Weathers walked onto screens in The Mandalorian, it was like a love letter to fans who'd fondly recalled his performances in movies like Rocky and Predator. Sadly, Weathers passed away on February 1st, 2024, after a life with no shortage of tragedy. Carl Weathers may have played one of the great fighters of the silver screen, but off-screen, he was anything but a bare-knuckled troublemaker. Weathers was born in post-World War II New Orleans, a city that had recently been a bustling hub of servicemen and celebration. But Weathers was honest about the challenges he faced. In 1979, Weathers described his neighborhood to the Washington Post, saying, "It had been a heavy-duty city when I was a kid. That was still the Deep South when I was growing up, and we were in the bowels of the city. I wasn't a fighter by nature. I held it all inside. It was not a happy time. In fact, when I'm feeling sorry for myself, I remember it as a perfectly miserable time. I think I was consciously trying to escape from a very early age." Always in love with the idea of acting and performing, Weathers said that he absolutely didn't fit in with the tough crowd that he grew up around. He always felt that he was on the outside, hiding who he really was. Even when he fell in with a friend group, Weathers said he was still very aware of the fact that he was incredibly naive and still on the outskirts, until he discovered football.
Yeah, I played in the NFL. I was a linebacker with the Oakland Raiders.
Carl Weathers told the Washington Post that initially he got into playing football because he realized it was a great way to get the attention of girls. When he discovered that he had an innate talent for it, it set him on a path out of New Orleans. It didn't go well, though, and his football career was fraught with injuries. Playing first for California's Long Beach City College, Weathers was training when he tripped and hurt his ankle so badly that it took him out of play for the rest of his freshman season. From there, he made his way to San Diego State, where he made the team but ended up warming the bench after a major knee injury. Dreams of playing in the NFL seemed to dwindle with each game he sat out, but he called in some favors. At the time, Sid Hall was the Oakland Raiders linebacker coach, and Weathers knew him from college. Hall got him a chance with the Raiders, and Weathers told Sports Illustrated that he knew he was way out of his league pretty much immediately. When he was cut, it was with a pointed admonishment from Coach John Madden. Weathers recalled, "He said to me, 'You're just too sensitive.' What the do you mean I'm too sensitive? Not that it's not true. I couldn't let it go, man. It kind of put a chip on my shoulder on one hand, and it was like a wound on the other." When Carl Weathers decided to channel his sensitivity into an acting career, he hit it big, literally. When actors stepped into the boxing ring for Rocky, let's be clear that there were some real hits flying. That's what makes it so bizarre that Carl Weathers suffered a life-altering injury not while filming Rocky, but on the set of Happy Gilmore.
Don't worry about it. You're still in good shape. All you got to do is just tap it in. Just tap it in now.
Happy Gilmore came out in 1996, and in 2020, Weathers sat down for an interview with GQ. He confirmed that shooting Rocky had been incredibly hard work, but went on to say that his injury on the set of Happy Gilmore was the one that stuck with him. It happened, he explained, when he fell onto a stunt bag and got stuck between the bag and a wall. It hurt, but he didn't think much of it at the time, and did the stunt a few more times. Years went by, and Weathers said that it took him that long to get sick of the then constant pain. He explained, "I fractured 2 vertebrae, and osteophytes grew out and connected. It did a kind of self-fuse in a really bad place. There were 3 or 4 years there where I was just in excruciating pain." As if that wasn't bad enough, doctors told him that they couldn't operate to fix it, and he just had to stick it out. The worst of the pain eventually started to recede, and he said, quote, "I'm glad not to be experiencing what I was experiencing. It was debilitating." In a career retrospective on Carl Weathers, Vulture suggested that his Apollo Creed should have been the real star of the Rocky films. They condemned, quote, "white ethnic anxiety after the civil rights movement as being partially to blame for the fact that Sylvester Stallone took off into the stratosphere while Weathers didn't." As for Weathers himself, he's acknowledged that he's faced some awful experiences with racism. Weathers lent his voice to the audiobook for Pen Pal, Prison Letters from a Free Spirit on Slow Death Row. And in a 2020 conversation with Crime Story, he said that when he read the letters written by activist and scholar Tio Atala Salael, he immediately knew they needed to reach a larger audience. Weathers stressed that he wasn't against the judicial system, but he also said that he was troubled by the inequality that often played out in terms of treatment and sentencing. He went on to say that he didn't like the label of criminal, saying that it all too often leads to a lifetime stigma, and that was dangerous, particularly when it got applied to an innocent person. And he'd been there. He said, "I myself have never been in jail, but but I've certainly had too many occasions where the police, for whatever reason, seem to be motivated to approach me for one reason or another. And there, but for the grace of God, I could be another T.O. When the death of Carl Weathers was announced in 2024, the news was met with an outpouring of tributes, including a tearful one from Sylvester Stallone. In an Instagram post, Stallone spoke of the devastation that he was feeling, saying that he continued to credit Weathers for the success of Rocky. Stallone said,
"He was magic, and I was so fortunate to be part of his life. So, Apollo, keep punching."
According to the family's statement, Weathers died peacefully in his sleep. While there were no details immediately given, updates about some recent work seem to suggest his passing was unexpected. Weathers was set to appear in a Super Bowl commercial for FanDuel alongside Rob Gronkowski. The company reached out to The Hollywood Reporter to say that they had been in touch with Weathers' family and added that while he would still be in the commercial and the commercial would still air, changes have been made. The ads would be re-edited, but fans would get to see Weathers for one last time. A week after Weathers passed away, it was announced that the actor had heart disease, and with his official cause of death listed as atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease.